all started with an innocent discovery. Graduation was just around the corner, and everyone was in high spirits, signing yearbooks, making plans for the future, and reliving their best moments from high school. For Claire, Jason, and Eric, the nostalgia hit a little harder. They had been best friends since freshman year, and now, with only a few days left before they went their separate ways, they wanted to do something memorable, something that would cement their friendship in history. That's when Jason came up with an idea, breaking into the school's abandoned East Wing. The East Wing had been closed off for as long as anyone could remember. Some said it was due to asbestos. Others whispered about a fire that had claimed the lives of students decades ago. No one really knew the truth, but the rumors made it the perfect target for their last adventure together. It wasn't about vandalizing or stealing, just the thrill of stepping into a place frozen in time, untouched, for years. That night, they met behind the gym where the fence separating the main school building from the East Wing had a small gap. Claire hesitated, looking up at the dark, looming structure. "Are we really doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jason grinned, already halfway through the fence. "Come on, Claire. One last adventure before we're scattered across the country." Eric followed without hesitation, and with a deep breath, Claire slid through, landing softly on the other side. The air inside the building was thick with dust, and the faint smell of old books and decay lingered. The hallway stretched before them, lockers lined up like silent sentinels, their doors rusted and dented. The flickering beam of Jason's flashlight cast eerie shadows, making the abandoned space feel even more unsettling. They walked slowly, the only sound being the crunch of dirt under their shoes. "Look at this," Eric whispered, pointing at a stack of old textbooks scattered across the floor. Some were ripped, their pages yellowed with time, but what caught their attention was an old yearbook lying on a broken desk. Claire picked it up, brushing off the thick layer of dust. The cover read 1965 Senior Class in elegant gold lettering. She flipped through the pages, her fingers tracing over the black and white photos. Then she saw it. At first, it seemed like a normal picture, a group photo of the senior class smiling proudly. But there was something wrong. In the back row, slightly off-center, stood a figure that didn't belong. Unlike the rest of the students, who had bright eyes and cheerful expressions, this person's face was blurred, like a smudge on the photograph. The longer Claire stared at it, the more uneasy she felt. It wasn't just a flaw in the picture, it felt intentional, as if someone had tried to erase the person from history. Jason and Eric leaned in, their curiosity turning into something darker. "Who is that?" Jason asked, reaching out to touch the image. The moment his finger brushed the photo, a loud bang echoed through the hallway. Claire gasped, nearly dropping the book. They spun around, hearts pounding, but there was nothing there. Just the empty corridor stretching into darkness. "Let's go," Claire urged. But Jason wasn't ready to leave. "Wait, look at this." He flipped to the last page where students had written messages to each other. One stood out, written in bold, almost frantic handwriting. "Do not say her name. Do not acknowledge her. She will know." A chill ran down Claire's spine. "Guys, this isn't funny anymore." But Jason, always the skeptic, just laughed. "Come on, it's just some old ghost story. Probably a prank from decades ago." He shrugged, tossing the yearbook back onto the desk. "Let's keep looking around." Reluctantly, Claire followed as they moved deeper into the wing. The air seemed colder now, the silence heavier. Then, a whisper. It was so faint, Claire thought she imagined it, but the way Eric suddenly stiffened told her he had heard it too. A soft, distant voice, almost like a breath against their ears. "Who's there?" Jason called out, his voice shaky despite his bravado. No response. A door creaked open down the hall. Claire grabbed Jason's arm. "We should leave." Jason hesitated, but the growing fear in Eric's expression convinced him. They turned back, walking faster now. But as they reached the entrance, something changed. The hallway was different. The broken desks, the scattered papers, the dusty floor, all gone. Instead, it looked pristine, as if they had stepped back in time. The lockers were new, the floors polished. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Claire turned and froze. At the end of the hall stood a girl in a vintage school uniform, her head tilted slightly, her dark eyes locked onto them. Her expression was blank, but something about her presence was wrong. Jason took a step forward as if drawn to her. Claire grabbed his arm, whispering, "Don't." The girl's lips moved, but no sound came out. Then the yearbook, the one Jason had touched, slammed shut on the desk behind them. Lights flickered and the air grew unbearably heavy. The girl took a step forward. Eric panicked. "Run!" They bolted, shoving through the door and racing back to the fence. Jason tripped, scraping his knee, but Claire yanked him up, adrenaline overpowering exhaustion. They didn't stop until they were back in Jason's car, locking the doors and gasping for breath. They never spoke of that night again. But something changed after that. Jason, always the loudest of the group, became withdrawn. Claire started having nightmares, dreams of a girl standing at the foot of her bed, whispering her name. Eric, the most skeptical of them all, stopped hiking alone. Weeks later, Jason called Claire in the middle of the night. His voice was barely above a whisper. "She's in my room," he said. The call ended abruptly. The next day, Jason was gone. His parents reported him missing, but no clues were found. When Claire went to his house, his room was untouched, except for one thing. On his desk sat the old yearbook open to the senior photo, and this time the blurred figure in the back row was smiling.